The experience that I recount here is an odd one, having happened when I was 16 years old. It happened in the small village of Hindhead, which is built around a crossroads that had been there for quite some time. Perhaps a little history is necessary to set the mood. Hindhead, as I stated, was built around a crossroads on the coach track from London to Portsmouth. Way back then, there were only a smattering of homesteads in the area, and at the crossroads itself, there was only a single coach house. Around 50 miles from London, Hindhead was something of a lawless area, and many a traveller or tradesman met their end travelling along the dark coach track. Of course, it was not just the innocent who passed on to the next life. Nearby is a spot called Gibbet Hill, no prizes for guessing what it was named after. A gibbet used to stand there where murderers and highwaymen were regularly hanged. A Celtic cross on a stone pillar stands at the gibbet, reportedly placed there to ward away evil spirits, of which I'm sure the area has more than its fair share. A statement from the 18th century journalist William Cobbett will give you some idea of what I'm trying to convey. He described Hindhead as the most villainous spot God ever created. I was walking home from a friend's house in the nearby village of Beacon Hill, heading back to my own town of Hazelmere, situated about 5 miles away. The journey takes just over an hour, and the only route takes you over the crossroads at Hindhead. It was around 3 in the morning. It was summertime, so it wasn't a particularly cold night. The day had been muggy, and the sky was overcast still. No stars were visible, and only the light of the occasional dim street lamp lit the way. As I was approaching the crossroads, usually rammed with traffic during the day, but now eerily silent and empty, I felt a strange sensation, that feeling of being watched. Cautiously I glanced around, but could see nothing, so I continued on my way. The feeling did not go away, and in fact worsened. In the silence I found myself acutely aware of any sound at all, and couldn't help but think I could hear the faint clip-clop of a horse's hooves on the stones and cobbles. I picked up my pace again and glanced around, but saw nothing. It was then I reached the middle of the crossroads and I suddenly felt very cold. It was a mild night and this sudden chill struck me as odd. The sound of hooves had stopped. It had been quiet anyway, and I now convinced myself that it had been imagined. But then I heard voices, quiet and muffled, as if they were very far away, yet at the same time it felt as if the sound was coming from just next to me. I turned to look. It sounded as though they were having an argument. Bewildered, I stood around for a while, watching intently the spot where the sounds had been originating. Though it could have been a mere trick of the eye, or of the dim light, I thought I could see shadowy shapes before me. One roughly conformed to the outline of a man, perhaps wearing a hat. The other was larger, the size of a horse and cart, perhaps a highwayman robbing a travelling sailor. This was too much for me, and I hurried away from the crossroads. Upon leaving the area, the cold vanished, and once again the night was mild and silent. I was somewhat frightened for the rest of the walk. I've passed the same spot late at night many times before, and many times afterwards, and have always felt uneasy. The way that I felt whilst I stood there leads me to think that there is at least some possibility that this was an occurrence of a supernatural nature.